Did you think of your visit to the Jain temple?
I liked it a lot. They seem like very nice, wonderful people. I was really interesting to learn more about the subtle differences it has between Hinduism and how it's kind of developed and how it relates to also Buddhism.
I'm making an offering of rice into the fire. As the Vedic priest.
It was fantastic. A lot of gorgeous stuff and people who were sincere about their faith.
Interestingly, the Gospel of the Day is all about come and see. I think that is very apt and appropriate as we begin this immersion program that you have come all the way. Now it's all about you. See it, feel it, taste it, and experience it.
Gandhi admired Christianity, but Gandhi could never understand how Jesus could die on the cross. A God who could ever die on the cross, that was very difficult for Gandhi to understand. But the Dalits can actually experience it in their own lives.
We have to go for the standard one, good one.
These caves.
Amazing. Awesome.
Seeking and finding God, where God wants to be sought and found. And in this immersion trip, I definitely am pretty sure God wants to be found and wants to be sought here in India.
The living self, the individual self, Right, that's good.
But see, look at what he says at the middle of page 131. The distinction between God or the Supreme Atman Brahman, who is unaffected by the world,
Mumbai. You know, Mumbai, one of the biggest slums is Dharavi slum, the biggest, I think, biggest slum in Asia. So that is the, so these are the, one important reason is that they do not get enough rain, so that affects their whole occupation, and then they come to the town.
Now this has been my concrete slum. It's a situation. So you can imagine so many housing societies leaving its ways to the river.
What I would say is that there are some aspects of the very familiar and some of the very unfamiliar in each of the things that we've experienced and seen. So as an example, I come from Hawaii, and so many of the plants that I see and the scenery to some degree reminds me of Hawaii, but at the same time, what is very different is just to see the level of pollution, the extreme poverty that we've encountered here. Definitely is very different from what I was used to growing up at home. Another aspect I would say that's like familiar and unfamiliar at the same time would be I've traveled a lot through Latin America and seen many places that have roadside shrines scattered all along the highway and different streets, and we've seen a lot of shrines like that here too, but obviously the difference is in Latin America they're for saints and for the Virgin Mary, whereas here they're often the unfamiliar aspect again being for Shiva, for Ganesha. So that's also been really interesting in seeing how sort of what popular religion looks like in a Hindu context.
So flat on the ground, then slowly inhale and bend backward. You have to use the back muscles. Hands are only a support for you. Okay. Hands are only a support for you so that you can strengthen your back muscles. This rather speaks about the yogi, one who practices yoga. What will be the nature of a yogi? Yogi will be a person who is capable of looking at everyone with equal mind.
And even while he studied here, while he was a theology student, much like us, he lived in the slums and came and commuted to class. So to me, that's a very good example of what it means to come and follow me, regardless of our privileges or where we come from. And I recognize that coming and following Jesus will probably look different for each of us.
Be there. And I think both in Goa and in Kerala, where we'll go after that, I'll really be interested in understanding kind of enculturated Christianity there, and given the really rich history, many centuries of Christian practice in those areas, and understanding how they reflect the local context and culture would be really interesting.
Okay, so you can have one. Number 2. You want one?
Extra stuff in there. I don't know what it is, but it's delicious.
Like the meat or something?
The meat of the coconut.
O devoted servant of God, Saint Francis Xavier, your heart was burning with love for Jesus.
But what we try to highlight in this museum is the Indian influences on Christian art. So whether it is the material, whether it is the features of the stains, whether it's the motifs that are used in the artworks.
This is Bush and it's sweet coffee. This is for Nescafe and that's for Capuchin bitter one. So both coffees need to go through roast.
My question is, how do we reconcile this when we try to appropriate or translate the experience or doctrine as an experience to our culture? The terms that we address are completely different. And how do we consider also the heuristic aspect of that?
Well, there is always going to be a heuristic aspect, whenever you try to formulate a doctrine, because you're always going to try, you're always coming up with something which is new. So that is unavoidable. In a way, the term homoousios is not in the New Testament. And I always tell my students, you look in the New Testament, the term ousia is there.
It's been wonderful to be in India. One of my favorite things has been just how explicit the religious expression is, that you see images and shrines everywhere. We don't see that very much in Berkeley where we're going to school.
And where you are standing is a meditation hall, interreligious meditation hall. You can see four major texts, Bible, Quran and Bhagavad Gita and Dhammavada. Dhammavada is a Buddhist text. And we, every day we have a liturgy, mass. And the idea is, you have this light here, and Jalaluddin Rumi would say, lamps are many, but the light is the same.
They would like to get a message and advice from you.
We need a good philosophical support for our theology, and there is need to distinguish clearly between faith, dogma, and theology. These three are not to be confused as often they are